Hello and welcome to my reaction to some more epic historic TV. They have a new episode of the American Revolution. Feels like it's been a while since the last one. I mean, they've been posting a lot, so I can't complain. So many good videos. But yeah, this is 1776, Year of Crisis, and I guess we're getting the Battle of New York, which about started last time. The British finally came with like a massive army, I think about 50k soldiers, and we ended when they were basically attacking Manhattan or something. The Declaration of Independence happened. That's more or less what we had. So I guess there's a Battle of New York, and as always, all I can say is that I don't really know anything that happens. This series has been pretty great for me as a, as a stupid Frenchman. I never really knew much about the American War of Independence, right? So yeah, I literally have no idea what happens next. I mean, I know, America wins eventually, but what happens between now and the end of the conflict, I don't know too much, except if the movie Patriot is accurate, which I believe it's not. But Mel Gibson was pretty great. Okay, link for the video in the description, the link to the Epic History channel, my Discord, stream account, Patreon if you want to follow, support me, request reaction. Let's check it out. I thought all London was afloat. Continental Army soldier.
The 22nd of August, 1776. 4,000 British soldiers in 75 flat-bottomed boats cross the Hudson and land at Gravesend Bay, Long Island. They are welcomed by a jubilant population of loyalists who bring food, supplies, and knowledge of the local terrain. Soon, this force will grow to 20,000. It's been nearly 2 months since General William Howe arrived off New York. Finally, in a trickle of transports and warships from Britain, Ireland, Germany, and the Carolinas, his full force has gathered. Howe now commands the largest expeditionary force Britain has ever assembled.
As I said, that seems kind of like counterproductive, right? Like they arrived 2 months ago and announced their presence, but then they can't actually like really go on the attack for 2 months, giving the time to, the revolutionaries to prepare the defenses.
And it's ready to be unleashed against the American rebels. His first target, Patriot forces holding a series of ridges around Brooklyn. If they can be defeated, Long Island will fall. New York will be defenseless, and the rebellion could be crushed.
I mean, there's more than New York, that's in rebellion. American Revolution Part 5.
In New York City, General George Washington commands 20,000 men of the Continental Army. A few units, like the Delaware Blues and 1st Maryland Regiment, are well drilled and disciplined, but most are under-trained and ill-equipped. Desertion is rampant. The camps are riddled with typhus and dysentery. About a quarter of the army is sick or absent. At this critical juncture, Washington is racked with indecision. He fears the British landing on Long Island may be a diversion, and so holds back more than half his army to defend Manhattan and the Hudson River.
I mean, my question is like, do you really need to defend New York? Is New York that important? Considering like you are at such a disadvantage and all that. Like, is it really such a great defensible position?
His troops on Long Island are widely dispersed. 6,000 under Israel Putnam are in fortifications around Brooklyn. 3,000 more, under Generals Sullivan and Sterling, hold forested hills to Putnam's front. They are spread over 4 miles and must guard the 3 main passes through the heights of Guan. At dawn on the 27th of August, they are attacked by 5,000 redcoats. The crackle of muskets and roar of cannon fills the air as volleys are traded. It's the first time the Continentals have faced the enemy on open ground. And so far, they are holding their own.
Let's go.
But it is a trap. As Sullivan sends troops from his center to reinforce Sterling, he hears the sound of gunfire to his rear.
But wouldn't he expect it? Because like he knows the British have like tens of thousands, so like if only 5,000 is attacking this side, they're gonna attack somewhere else.
To his horror, he realizes he has been outflanked. General Howe has used a fourth, lesser-known pass to swing round the American line with 10,000 troops.
The informants.
5,000 Hessians now charge forward in the center. These German troops have a fearsome reputation and terrify the Americans.
Why is there a German troop with the British? What's the logic of that?
In an instant, order and discipline are gone. It is a race to escape. Only the 1st Maryland and Delaware battalions, regarded as the Army's finest, hold their ranks. Outnumbered 10 to 1, the 1st Maryland mounts a desperate rearguard action and is cut to pieces. Washington, watching from Brooklyn, is appalled.
Good God, what brave fellows I must this day lose.
The disaster at Long Island is a major blow to the American cause. There are just 400 British casualties. The Americans lose more than 2,000, including Generals Sterling and Sullivan, both captured, though they are later exchanged on parole. The rest of the Continentals flee into Brooklyn, where their backs are now against the East River.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're besieged.
An immediate assault by Howe might have ended the rebellion that very day. But fearing a second Bunker Hill and believing the Americans are trapped, he instead orders his men to begin digging siege lines.
I mean, are they trapped? New York isn't far, just get some little boats and... I mean, maybe it's farther than it looks on the map, I don't know. You can probably, like, evacuate people to New York.
The following day, there is torrential rain. Washington's position is perilous. The only reason he's not been cut off by the British fleet is a steady northeasterly wind, which could change at any moment. Early on the 30th, under cover of darkness and a fortuitous morning fog, Washington evacuates his army across the East River to Manhattan.
Makes sense.
It is a silent, disciplined, and organized withdrawal. An American lieutenant recalls,
"In the history of warfare, I do not recollect a more fortunate retreat."
Maybe later on the evacuation of Gallipoli, I guess. That was pretty good.
Washington has narrowly avoided catastrophe. But the onslaught has only just begun.
We learned by chess the habit of not being discouraged by present bad appearance, the habit of hoping for a favorable change. The World of Chess by Benjamin Franklin.
September 1776. 2 weeks after his victory at Long Island, General Howe has paused his advance to offer peace terms. He earnestly hopes some form of reconciliation is still possible. In fact, he and his brother, Admiral Richard Howe, alongside their military commands, have been appointed peace commissioners, authorized by King and Parliament to issue pardons and restore peace to the colonies. But
Anyone's seen the shows? There's an amazing private show called Black Sails, which I would recommend to the max. It's 4 seasons and one of the best TV show of all time. And what I can think is Flynn saying like, fuck your pardon, fuck your king. I mean, if you've seen that show, you know what I mean.
in a meeting with Congressmen John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and Edward Rutledge, nothing is achieved.
forces have been sent out and towns have been burnt. We cannot now expect happiness under the domination of Great Britain. All former attachments have been obliterated.
About half of New York's population has already fled the city. Many who remain are loyalists. With British ships anchored in the Hudson and East Rivers, Washington decides he must abandon the city. On the 12th of September, he begins the evacuation. Troops and wagons are still leaving 3 days later when Howe strikes at Kip's Bay.
Oh shit.
4,000 British and German troops, supported by 80 naval guns, face little opposition. The Continental Army dissolves into a stream of fugitives as the British consolidate their bridgehead.
If only Spider-Man was already
Washington
around.
attempts to rally his men, but is ignored. The general snaps.
Are these the men with which I am to defend America?
Later that day, General Howe enters New York to a hero's welcome.
Thus this town, which these blustering rebels had taken such wonderful pains to fortify, was given up in 2 or 3 hours without any defense or the least appearance of a manly resistance.
Maybe it's for the better. I mean, this doesn't seem like the most defendable place, I guess.
The following day, the Americans repulse a British column advancing on Harlem Heights. A small reprieve, but as noted by Pastor Schukirk of New York,
the merry tones on drums and fifes had ceased.
5. I am worried almost to death with the retrograde motion of things. Interesting.
The sick, the aged, women and children, half naked, were taking refuge from the fire. The terror was increased by the horrid noise of the burning and falling houses, the confused voices of so many men, the shrieks and cries of the women and children.
on the hot and dry night of the 20th of September 1776, fire consumes nearly
Did it burn the
1/4
city on
of
purpose,
New
or
York
was it
City.
because of the fighting?
It is not clear whether it was started by accident or on purpose. But it is a heavy blow to those still living in the city, especially with winter approaching. In October, the British are on the move again. They sail up the East River with 12,000 men, looking to outflank the rebels. They land at Pell's Point. After a sharp fight, Washington is forced to withdraw to White Plains. 10 days later, Howe attacks again.
Relentless.
Hessian troops of Colonel Rowell's regiment charge forward, driving the rebels back to Chatterton Hill.
Losing out.
Here they hold firm, pouring heavy fire into the advancing columns. But eventually, British and Hessian numbers tell. The Delaware Blues form the rear guard as Washington's men beat a hasty retreat. The battle costs both sides around 200 casualties. Defeat after defeat has caused American morale to plummet.
Yeah.
Almost half the army has deserted. More do so every day. Washington's leadership is called into question. Charles Lee, his second in command, who has just returned from South Carolina, writes,
He has that fatal indecision of mind, which in war is a much greater disqualification than stupidity, or even want of personal courage.
Many now look to Lee to save the cause, especially after Washington blunders again.
I was gonna say, like, all I knew of Washington is that he was pretty great. So in my head, I always thought, like, great general and no mistakes or something. So maybe it's like, at this point he's doing bad, but later on he's gonna come back and be a change man or something. I don't know.
15 miles south of White Plains, well behind the British lines, 2,800 Continentals hold a fort that bears Washington's name.
Yes.
Built to block British ships from entering the Hudson, it has proven totally ineffective. But Washington dithers, leaving the decision to withdraw to General Greene, who decides to keep the isolated garrison in place.
If it's ineffective, what's the
On the
point?
morning of the 16th of November, Howe launches an assault on the fort with 8,000 men from all directions.
Well,
The fighting lasts all morning, but by midday, the entire American garrison has been captured or killed.
damn. That's a mess.
The British have inflicted yet another major blow on the rebel cause. The invasion of New York has been a stunning success for Howe. New Jersey will be next.
What a mess. What a mess. Man, kind of like an unrelated tangent, but kind of related, but Assassin's Creed 3, I remember really liking the game when I was young. I don't remember, like, in what part of the American Revolution that the game takes place. I kind of feel like I need to play it again. It was kind of a fun game, but I'm trying to remember, like, which part of what we've seen so far is it taking place in? Is it later or early on? I don't know. I'm pretty sure Washington is in that game too, yeah. This is the dark part of the night, which is generally just before day.
With
Doesn't look
British
good so far.
troops crossing the Hudson in force, Washington retreats across New Jersey to the Delaware River. A pursuit begins. He has fewer than 6,000 men, but hopes to pick up new volunteers en route. Instead, he finds the population in a state of apathy.
I was gonna say, like, the best thing to do now would be to literally, like, do propaganda, right? So, like, you know, make the British seem so bad that, you know, there's guerrilla warfare and more people join the rank or something. I mean, you kind of need that right now.
A thick cloud of darkness and gloom covered the land, and despair was seen in almost every countenance.
On the 30th of November, Howe issues a proclamation offering a pardon to all rebels who swear a new oath of allegiance to the crown. In the words of a New Jersey farmer writing to his family,
You can come down and receive protection, and return home without molestation on the part of the king's troops. And you best know the situation of the provincial army. He who stays out to the last will undoubtedly fare the worst.
Can't blame anybody, it seems kind of hopeless at
thousands
this
in New
point.
Jersey and New York will eventually swear the oath.
I do promise and declare that I will remain in a peaceable obedience to His Majesty and will not take up arms, not encourage others to take up arms in opposition to His authority.
Among them, 2 former members of Congress and Richard Stockton, signatory of the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
On the 1st of December 1776, enlistments expire for half of Washington's army. Without a second thought, 2,000 men leave for home.
I'm surprised that's still a thing at this point. I mean, like, you know, I feel like most people fighting in the army at this point, it shouldn't be for some kind of, like, legal matter like this. It should be because, you know, this is like a conflict of, like, saving your country or creating your country, I guess.
As snow begins to fall, Washington's depleted band retreats across the Delaware, destroying any boats they can't take with them. Philadelphia is evacuated in chaos. Congressman Robert Morris recalls,
Our people knew not the hardships and calamities of war when they so boldly dared Britain to arms. Every man was then a bold patriot, felt himself equal to the contest. But now, when we are fairly engaged, when death and ruin stare us in the face, and when nothing but the most intrepid courage can rescue us from contempt and disgrace, sorry I am to say it. Many of those who were foremost in noise now shrink, coward-like, from the danger and are begging pardon without striking a blow.
It is like that a lot, right? I mean, you know, it's in real life you see it all the time, right? All the people saying stuff like, you know, I would die for my country or something like that, right? And they might actually believe it, but you know, like many things in life, until you actually face, you know, the very bad things, you don't actually know how you're gonna react, you know. And most people get swept up in the excitement of, you know, this kind of thing, right? Like politicians leading the charge about, you know, independence and fighting the British and winning, you know, like it all sounds great, right? Like you're just a normal person and you're like, yeah, let's go, this is cool, you know. But then when you see the horrors, the bad and all that, obviously, you know, you might change your mind. I don't know if I'd blame people that much for that. Yeah.
For Howe, the campaign is won. He returns to New York, leaving 14,000 men to garrison New Jersey for the winter, and issue a growing list of pardons. He also sends General Clinton to retake Newport, Rhode Island, which he does without losing a man. A few days later, Washington's second-in-command, General Lee, is staying in a tavern some distance from his troops when he is surprised by British cavalry and captured. Many of his 5,000 troops take the chance to desert. The ones who stay dutifully march with General Sullivan.
How does this turn around? I mean, again, I literally don't know what happens, except that it turns around, but how? This seems so done. I guess it's just the idea of, you know, once the people have, like, awakened to the spirit of independence, revolution, and fighting the system, you know, you can put them down once, but it keeps coming back, right? I mean, in France, you know, we had the French Revolution and Napoleon. Eventually, you know, the monarchy comes back, it goes away again. Second Revolution, it comes back, it goes away again. I mean, you know, same thing with like the 1848 Revolution, you know, in some of the countries in Europe, right? I mean, it didn't really give, like, a lot of them failed, but it was like a prelude and people's like mind were open to that, and a few decades later it actually happens.
To join Washington on the Delaware. But even with these reinforcements, the Continental Army can barely muster 6,000 men. And enlistments for most of these soldiers will expire in just a couple of weeks. With the fate of America in the balance, Washington decides to risk everything on a bold strike.
Really? These are the time that Tribesman souls, the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands it now deserve the love and thanks of man and woman. Thomas Paine. It sounds motivating, like a Lord of the Rings kind of speech.
Washington's plan of attack is bold and complex.
So it's finally made a decision.
3 columns will cross the freezing Delaware River at night, at 3 separate points, and attack the Hessian garrison at Trenton before dawn. Ewing and Cadwalader will lead 2 of the columns in diversionary attacks on Assunpink Creek Bridge and Bordentown. while Washington's main column, 2,400 strong, crosses upriver, splits into two wings, and surrounds the town from west and north.
Okay.
The operation begins at dusk on the 25th of December, Christmas Day. The Delaware is fast-moving, clogged with ice, and nearly 300 yards wide.
That's a mess.
Ferrying men, guns, and horses across it, in the dark, in flat-bottomed boats, amid hail and snow, is an act of stunning audacity. Thanks to experienced oarsmen among the Pennsylvania militia.
Did he actually ride his horse on top of like a small rowing boat? Or is that like an embellished painting?
And artillery companies, the crossing is completed without disaster. But Washington's column arrives on the far bank 3 hours behind schedule, while Ewing and Cadwalader both abort their missions.
Well,
Washington decides to push on regardless. The weather is so bad, he reasons, the enemy will surely not expect an attack.
surely.
His troops split into two columns as planned and begin their advance. They make slow progress through the blizzard, but the men remain in good order and are determined. Trenton is garrisoned by 1,400 Hessian soldiers under Colonel Rowell. He's been warned about an imminent attack, but after a skirmish with some American militia on Christmas Day, believes that threat to have passed.
Lucky.
So that night, amidst a blizzard on Christmas, his guard is down.
Lucky.
Shortly after dawn, Washington attacks. Greene's men drive Hessian outposts back into town. As the garrison forms up in the streets, Knox positions his cannon to fire on them. Then Sullivan's men charge into the town with bayonets fixed. They seize the Assunpink Creek Bridge.
Nice.
Rowell is mortally wounded, attempting to organize a counterattack. It's all over in less than an hour.
I mean, this Audacity, as you said, this seems almost like too lucky, right? I mean, this seemed like a pretty crazy, almost suicidal operation, right? Crossing the, this crazy river at night and then trying not to get lost in a blizzard. Surprisingly, it worked. Very nicely done.
Hessians lose 100 killed and wounded and 900 captured. The Americans, just 5 wounded.
But is that even a good thing though? Like, I mean, it's a good thing the Americans lost so little, but like 900 prisoners, how many men do you have to spare to guard the prisoners, you know what I mean? And you already have so little men. Is that even a good thing?
It is a stunning and much needed victory. As the Hessian prisoners are marched back to Philadelphia, morale soars in Washington's army.
Okay.
But the campaign is not done yet. Howe, learning of the disaster, sends General Cornwallis and 8,000 men to hunt down and destroy Washington's army. With enlistments on the verge of expiring, Washington makes an appeal to the army.
My brave fellows, you have done all I asked you to do, and more than could be reasonably expected. But your country is at stake. Your wives, your houses, and all that you hold dear. You have worn yourselves out with fatigues and hardships, but we know not how to spare you. If you will consent to stay 1 month longer, you will render that service to the cause of liberty and to your country which you can probably never do under any other circumstance.
Just 1 month?
His stirring words and a bounty worth 2 months' pay convince almost all the troops to stay.
Okay. But we're still pretty outnumbered, no? I'm saying wish.
Leaving 1,200 men to hold Princeton, Cornwallis advances on Trenton. his march is slowed by rebel riflemen and a sudden thaw which turns the roads to mud. When he arrives, he finds the rebels entrenched behind Assunpink Creek. Probing attacks are defeated
back to the river at least.
and cost 300 British casualties. With darkness approaching, Cornwallis decides to wait until morning to launch a full-scale attack. This is just what Washington wants.
I was gonna say, what's the plan? Huh?
Overnight, his men march north in silence through rugged country to attack the garrison at Princeton. They arrive at the perfect moment, just as the British are setting off to join Cornwallis.
Interesting.
They form line just in time to meet the American attack. There is sharp fighting. At first, the British have the better of it. Then, Washington charges into the fray. An American officer witnesses the moment.
I shall never forget what I felt when I saw him brave all the dangers of the field, and his important life hanging as it were by a single hair, with 1,000 deaths flying around him.
That's what you need to inspire the men to stay more than 1 month. That's what you need.
Outnumbered, under heavy fire, the British fall back in disorder.
Okay.
They have suffered around 400 casualties. The Americans lose fewer than 100 men.
I mean, he really switched up, like, from the way it was presented in this video. He was just, like, so indecisive and not really making any plan, right? And then, I guess now, you know, with everything being at its worst and seeming like, you know, it's doomed, I guess he just awakened his military genius or something. Or maybe it's not that, it's more like awakened, you know, the ability to actually be decisive. Yeah, and that's all he needed.
Princeton is another stunning victory for the Americans. Perhaps Washington's greatest operational flourish. But the Continental Army is exhausted, low on supplies,
Still seems
and
kinda
surrounded
doomed, yeah.
by dangers. Washington is persuaded not to risk more. He makes for Morristown to find safe winter quarters. The battles of Trenton and Princeton are neither large nor particularly costly for the British. They are, however, desperately needed rays of hope in the Patriots' darkest hour.
Yes, moral is pretty important.
What's more, as the Continental Army continues to prove its mettle against the British, foreign observers are taking notice. In the royal courts of France and Spain, there are many who would delight
forgot.
to see their old British rival humiliated and their own defeats avenged. The rebellion in Britain's American colonies is about to become a global war.
I know that France helps, but I don't know if we do it right. I don't know the details, to be honest. Like, do we actually do
Do you
well?
want to be first to watch epic?
That's the end. I literally don't know. I think I know that we sent some fleet, but I remember like I know that one of the admiral or something does pretty bad. Like a French admiral does pretty bad or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's why I'm here to learn, because I don't know stuff. Very interesting, great video. I mean, yeah, it still feels kind of doomed, because like, you know, even with the walls and all that, it's like such a small force, you know, compared to like everything the British have at this point. It still feels like, you know, kind of doomed, and stuff like the system of, you know, the draft or whatever, like, you know, you only have like 1 month left or 2 months left or something. It seems so counterproductive, right? You'd think that they try more to convince people that, you know, you should stay and fight no matter what, because this is like to save the country and everybody, right? Like, because this system of, you know, this system of like your time expire or something seems so counterproductive, yeah. So very interesting video, very interesting. Really like, yeah, you know, again, I always thought Washington from, you know, what you hear of him was like the perfect general or something, but no, he did do a lot of mistakes. But now it seems to have turned it around, which is interesting. Amazing video, as always. So the quality of epic history videos is really just unmatched. There's a lot of good history channel, but I say it all the time, but like epic history is just on a different level. Seriously. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time. See you.